Namo Gurube. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharma-activity. Namo Tsong-Khapa. Namo Gurube. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharma-activity. Namo Tsong-Khapa. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. Okay, that's a little bit better. Shama's a lot more savvy with these things. And so yes, it was making a little bit of noise, but I hope it's not as disruptive for those following online. So to kind of briefly refresh your memories on what we've been covering, what we covered not only last week but over the past few weeks, is the first stanza of the root text. And the root text can be found separately at the very beginning of the text, starting on page 1. And then each stanza is re-quoted before the commentary on the following pages. So the first verse in the root text, okay, so anyways, the verse 1 covered the if we refer to the first line there, the foundation of all good qualities is a kind guru, and so is a kind guru, and so we covered what it means for the guru to be the foundation of all the good qualities, what those qualities are, and the definition of the guru, or the characteristics, the qualities of what a guru are or is, and then also the 6 attitudes of the student, and then the importance of properly relying on the guru and treating them with and viewing them with utmost devotion and the highest regard. So we stopped on page 17 in the collective reading, and in the middle of we stopped after the second paragraph on page 17. We'll continue reading on page 17, and then we'll offer a brief explanation. And there were a couple of things, quite a few things, because this is such a critical and crucial topic and verse that we wanted to add and include, or to give everyone participating an extra context into the practice of guru devotion, and then how one to view one's guru, and how best to maintain such a pure view when it comes to receiving and accepting the guru. So we'll read. So how it's gone on, just a reminder, how we've done it so far is we'll collectively read, and then after a certain interval or a certain point, we'll stop and then offer a brief explanation. And after that, we'll take questions that you may have, that you may want to raise, comments, anything that you observe that you would like to share, is the opportunity after we read collectively. There's something else that we want to share in terms of kind of the format of how we've been doing things, but we'll do that a little bit later. As for now, as for this session and for today, we'll continue in the way that we have over the past few weeks. So if everyone would kindly turn to page 17, we'll be reading collectively from the third paragraph that starts with the guru should be visualized. So please read along with us. The guru should be visualized as the embodiment of the entire refuge field. When Narapa meditated, he had visions of the deities Tara and Avalokiteshvara. But he said, Tara, you can be as green as you want, and Avalokiteshvara, you can be as white as you wish, but I am never separated from the aspirations of my guru. We also need to learn to treat all gurus equally. We have a tendency to offer greater respect to those gurus who sit on high thrones than to the ones with whom we live and dine. So we'd like to pause there for a second, and this felt like a good interval to add a couple of, again, supplemental ideas and understanding that add to the greater concept of guru devotion. So what we'd like to share and briefly raise in terms of explanation and concept here during this particular part is when the first sentence emphasizes that the guru should be visualized as the embodiment of the refuge field, and then if we look at the last sentence as well, where it says we have a tendency to offer greater respect to those gurus who sit on high thrones than to those with whom we live and dine. When we think about the concept of treating all our gurus equally, and this comes up more than once in this chapter, the reason behind treating our gurus equally is we wanted to give or share two reasons as to why they should be treated equally. And by gurus, we mean teachers and our spiritual guides in this case. And so the first thing, or the first reason that they should be seen as equal is because of the qualities and the qualities and everything that we learn from them, the benefit and the help offered to us, and anything positive, anything beneficial that we gained should be respected and treated equally. The very fact that we received something from our teachers and from our gurus points out to the fact that they were equally kind to us. Yes, some might offer something different to what certain gurus offer, but the fact that the benefit gained is what we're focusing on. And so when we think about that kindness, it gives us an equal basis in terms of viewing all our gurus, irrespective of in what circumstances we met them, when it is that we met them, what they look like physically, what their appearance is, what their background is. They're meant to be seen as equal and the same because of what they offered to us and and how we've benefited from what we gained from each guru. Secondly, as was mentioned previously in this in the commentary on this verse, is the concept. I apologize if this mic is noisy. I'm doing my best to. Maybe this is better. Okay. All right. The second reason is that, as mentioned earlier, what we should strive to do in terms of our practice of guru devotion is to see our gurus as Buddhas. And it is for that reason as well that they should all be seen the same, because all the Buddhas have identical qualities, irrespective of their time of enlightenment or the manifestation of the time of their enlightenment, or so on and so forth, in terms of their specific karmas with specific sentient beings. But their qualities are all the same, and more or less they are emanations of the same, those same qualities. And so that's another reason why, and a technique, I guess you could call it, for treating all your gurus equally. And an example here, and this example directly relates to one that was brought up during the introduction of the text, when we view ourselves as someone who is deeply ill, and then the Buddha as the doctor, the Dharma as the medicine or treatment. Hi, please come in. And then the Sangha as the helpers or nurses that help treat the patient. Joseph, would you mind passing Nasika a text? Oh, do you have? Okay. Thank you. And so, if you imagine, for example, have two doctors, one that treats your headache and one that treats your stomach ache, yes, what they're offering you are different in terms of what they're treating, but they're both offering you relief. And because of that, we're grateful to both. And we see, we don't necessarily treat the one who helps our stomach ailments as we don't see them as necessarily higher or more value necessarily than the doctor that helped treat our headache or our fever. We're grateful to them equally for relieving us of our pain. So likewise, that's a way to also remember or to keep in mind in terms of treating all our gurus equally. So in the second sentence here in the paragraph we just read, there's a mention of the great yogi Naropa, and Naropa was also mentioned on the previous page there, in the middle of page 16. So it's just kind of a continuation of historic and inspirational and auspicious, if you will, stories as a means of supplementing the points here. The yogi Naropa is mentioned again in his visions of the deities he had during meditation. But we'll continue reading from the last paragraph, and so please join us. We'll keep going, and then after a certain point we'll obviously pass the mic to you for any questions you may have or for anything you would like to discuss. But for now, let's continue reading together from the last paragraph on page 17. Later, someone again asked Atisha, "In India, there are many people who meditate on deities and accomplish this state, but such numbers in Tibet are very few. Why is this?" Atisha answered, "We Indians seek one deity and accomplish 100. You Tibetans go after 100 deities and accomplish none." I think that this point is extremely relevant to all of us today, because we like to think that such and such a deity is more powerful or more effective than another. We jump from one deity to the next. We start and stop, and in the end, we end up with nothing accomplished at all. Therefore, our approach should be that of generating faith in and respect for our gurus. All our teachers of the past, as well as His Holiness the Dalai Lama, tells us that it is easy to maintain our respect for gurus who are often seated on high thrones, but we should be very careful to maintain our respect for those gurus with whom we interact on a daily basis. In the monastery, we monks share many teachers, so it is an area where we always have to remain particularly cautious. Therefore, the first line of the first verse is telling us that cultivating a guru suitably becomes the root or the foundation of the path. Realizing this clearly with great diligence means, and this line is a reference to the third line of the first verse there. Realizing this clearly with great diligence means that when we genuinely understand this fact, we diligently work towards developing a mind of greater respect towards our gurus. We avoid insulting them at all costs and learn to regard them not only as a person, but also as a Buddha. If we can learn to look upon gurus as Buddhas, then our reward is that we receive the blessings of the real Buddha. So, in the last line, please bless me to rely on the Guru with highest devotion. We are seeking for inspiration to view our gurus with this kind of respect. Maybe you think that you can simply study Dharma books and that you don't need teachings. But we always need to have a teacher to consult with about our studies. Remember, If we wish to make an offering to our Guru, no offering is greater than that of our Dharma practice. Just as Milarepa said to his Guru, I have no material things to offer. I repay the kindness of my Guru with my practice. So we'll stop there with the collective reading for now. Ani?
Lama Sanji Sutago Sejera. La Sanji Sutago, Jidan Sanji Sutago Johnson, the Mawujera, Tago Johnson, the Susulta. And then the Susul Sotogo, the Togo in the society, go over the Zana, and the kind of stuck over Sejera until I had 10 seminars sheetos.
As mentioned earlier, our focus during the past month has been on this verse alone, and we've dedicated a certain amount of time to it because of its importance. And so, along with the commentary here in the text that we're reading together, there's been a little bit of supplementary information that we've shared with you, from other texts and from the words of the Buddha himself as a means of reinforcing this concept, or the concepts that we're exploring in this particular verse. And because we've reached the end of verse 1, there was quite a few still, again, just because this is such a crucial aspect of practice that we needed and would want to share with you as well. And so we would like to share that with you in the form of a small explanation before passing to the mic. And so, please, we request your patience and understanding, when listening to the additional supplemental concepts from other texts that we bring up with you as a means of, again, reinforcing everything that we've been going through. One of the concepts that we've been talking about is viewing one's Guru as the Buddha. And when we examine that, it can be explained or understood from the aspect of four main points.
Tamudidira, Sanji was a Lama Jara, Lama de Sanji Tuba de Lima, and Doji Changi, those Sung Lona, the Riores, Judan, the Sanji Sondash and Riora Judan, Judan, and then Mount Himitus on the Lugazos chance to Sanji Konangi Shege, to Snares, Mount Banana, me. Chidam Manats Giging, the Bell and the Giging, Giging and Nam to the Mantos Piggins, and Charansunga, Tanda Yomare, Gomanya and the Deads are 10 Loma punches, and those sonores.
So the first point out of the four is the reason for viewing our Guru as the Buddha is seeing him as the Vajradhara. The Vajradhara, again, we would like to take the opportunity to remind you that a lot of the content we're going through is from the Tantrayana point of view. So the mention of the Vajradhara comes up at this particular point, and it's mentioned in both, particularly in the Tantra references, that the Buddha himself shared or said that even after his passing into parinirvana, to please don't lose hope to his disciples, and he said that even though you may see this as the end, but it's not the end, I will certainly return in the form of a teacher to continue to guide you. And so this is one of the main points that comes up under that first aspect of the four that we're sharing with you now.
Sanjita Tenegi Chebos at Tenegi Chebos, the Chenes, the Zandatri Mazugi, Mazugi Jule, Teleta Giwala Subatasova, Tangazu Jule Giwachi Chigu, and Jawata Zambo, Giwada Magoni, and the Giwachi Chigu, and the Giwading Azul Jedon Shimberching at the language, the Lakandi, and Lama Gumun Genidus, Peongins, the Sanji Lunidum, Majan Pebble, Tangaran the Tantan Chudi or Tibaru, and Devaros nature. Devano sending the energy, we can get switch to page and so to the paper, the answer Nabongas, was a million, mean $100, $100, the real number page, and then also like Pentul
So what's mentioned in the sutras, apart from what was first mentioned there in tantric sources and references, is that post or after the time of the Buddha, the individual that acts as a bridge for us, between us and the Buddha's teachings and guidance, are the gurus. And in the sutras it mentions that the Buddhas themselves manifest as teachers or in a more ordinary form, so that they're accessible to us, but that they are emanations of the Buddhas themselves, acting as the bridges between their guidance and teachings and ourselves as ordinary beings. So that's the second way of thinking when it comes to how to maintain seeing one's guru as the Buddha.
Then Josen somebody did it. Sanji Korangema Nyalan Nai the Samakar, Sinjang turn to beings, Konsanji 7 Jell, Sinjang turn to beings, that quantity Toji Melon, Tangamati shoot the Namara. Jazatatically Jan Konsanji Savijella, Tangazu, Azu Yushago Marangazu turns a paper, Tangazu turns a payade, Kongitangazu, Gigan Lama tuition as turns a pen. Jan Konenta. Me not to let you by the table on the Sabara. Just a that in this and DJ Mazubi. Sinjang turned to you, Konami Sinjang to Lutang Member, Konking Eman, Tanjare, and Jelako, Sama, Tuna, Sabin Santa, and also Sinjang turns a penny did Lamarang to buy and Patus paper, but the rest.
You would discover you there.
Somebody got it, that's all there. Johnson Santangura. That Kong Garrison, Sinjang Cheto, Kongi Kalifuji, and the Sanjibara. That is Sanji, the Sinjang Tama, the Urbasan, you Mares, that the pitch is never teaches and teaching pitch.
And so the third point of the four that we're sharing with you is that for the sake of all sentient beings, the Buddha strived and undertook immeasurable hardship and ultimately achieved the highest state of enlightenment. And this was for the sake of all sentient beings. So after having achieved enlightenment, it would be questionable if he were to completely leave them, despite going through all, despite striving for their very sake. And so it is because of that reason, knowing that the Buddha will constantly seek to serve sentient beings, that acts as a reason that reinforces understanding that the Lama is the emanation of the Buddha, because he will always be someone to help us and always be someone to connect us to the teachings. And it is through this way that our gurus can be seen as the emanations of the Buddhas, because they'll always be here. Is kind of the essence of the third point there, is that the Buddha strived ever so diligently and tirelessly for the sake of sentient beings to actually achieve enlightenment, and after having achieved enlightenment, of course, he will continue rather than abandoning or leaving everyone behind. So that's a reason to understand to understand what's being facilitated by the Guru and seeing him as an emanation of the Buddha.
Penalo ngarang mi thambo changsha chige jen rupa chige nan kurang ta chi kurang chawa kar dugi na kali jan da den du chen ko mi jen rupa che ya dangja che ani dangja che na ko gi ji le da de du thu bi ka to de mi thambo changsha mi shi ju zang bo chi ba na ko gi rupa ten ten che gi rupa je no chi pa sanji de li jang ta ko thambo changsha na de ma den jang do ze ban ze ngi chi re tin jang be tin no chi res 맞아 미 담보 정샤 미 데마 된장 미 담보 정샤 땜부진이나 거기 젠으로 봐 책임 난다 거기 당자체 전 거기 제 계승하려고 도 제토가 있는 책임 있어야지 그 제토가 가도도 책이로 와 어디나 신지 상징으로 와
And so an example that we wanted to raise to maybe help simplify this idea is that if we look at someone who's honest and who has a strong sense of integrity, once they promise or once they say that they'll do something, they'll always follow through and carry out that activity, especially if they say or they promise to help someone. They will most always do so. And so the Buddha can be seen as someone who doesn't break his promise to serve sentient beings, and it's in this way that he'll always return. And again, this is a means of seeing the Lama as a Buddha or as the emanation.
Yes. Then sure the wrong no na ngeba me ba sedra. Wrong no na ngeba me slis nga zu thongsedri temos jaja jata ba yimbi chapa yo ma ba. 되게 그랬어 말했어. 제가 땅 아저기 통하디 아저기 겨울 바비기 아저 민다 우치 통고요. 아저 지체나 남아게 주연으로 들 통하다. 지 초진 땅 알아서 통하디 라마 아저 집어도 우치 통되고 와라. 제가 뒤 집어 임비 잡아요. 해봐요 말했어. 해봐요 말했어.
And then the fourth of the 4 points that we're sharing with you now is that appearances, or the way that we perceive, or our perceptions, are uncertain or unstable. And what we mean by that is that there's no guarantee that just because something appears to us in a certain way, or that we perceive that person or thing in a certain way, that it actually is that way in reality. And so when we use this idea or this concept upon and apply it to our practice of guru devotion, when we look at our gurus, they might have a certain appearance, and different variations of teaching, different techniques, and sometimes they might even manifest or show us, or we might even be presented with what would be generally known or seen as a flaw, or a mistake, or a fallacy of some sort, or a wrongdoing in their conduct or their approach. However, it might appear that way, or that's what it initially appears as, but doesn't necessarily mean that's what it is in reality, or that it guarantees that just because I perceive it in this way, that it appears to me in this way, then that has to be it. We have a natural tendency to label things, And this is through our own conceptual webs that are built on our own afflictive emotions, or that spring from our own afflictive emotions, and that we very quickly judge and label. But what's being mentioned in this fourth point is that to be mindful and know that not everything that appears to us a certain way is guaranteed or is certain in that way in the reality.
Tati penda uchi chabayina. Anazo chitani na chui na lola. Tu je thoyagi ti tsodo uchi yoro. Pecha na chogi tu ngos tu sinjaya le ya ane soji le da yin che kinje nje tu yores. Ane dene longu ngos sinjaya wala chi ngazo satambo tu ko yoba. Da dene sanji yishi tsuina pa chugo tsu sanji na pensen je go yoba to son yoro. Da dene rimba de to na shen de ngazo ge ngazo susu je le jiba khase sta wa de che chi jen le ya yan den tong ya de shu chir chir chin ro ya tu son yores.
And we talk about, just using the word appearance here, we talk about different appearances and then the different form emanations, or I'm sorry, the different bodies of the Buddha. One of those bodies can only be seen, or can only be perceived by
soju le da la de da ne tinyalen ge che tes ya to la sonam chimbu la shana.
By those who have a certain level of merit, have accumulated a certain level of merit. I always get when it comes to the kayas, I always get them mixed up. Hello? Yeah.
So zuwa ma ja wa do. Oh, na ri da. Oh, do si.
I apologize, I tend to move around when I'm up here, and I think it loosens the robe and then it causes a noise on the mic with it rubbing against everything. Apologies for that. Vladimir, you would probably know this a lot better than me. I have it in Tibetan, I just don't have it off the top of my head in English. I know we use terms like Nirmanakaya and what are the other ones? Rubukaya, Samogakaya. I forget which one applies to which one in Tibetan. So just to give you the more simple concept here, that part isn't so important, but certain emanations or certain bodies can only be perceived or viewed through those with a certain level of good merit. Some of those can only be viewed by and then some can only be seen or viewed by those who have reached the first ground or the path of seeing. And then one of the bodies as well can only be seen or perceived between the Buddhas themselves, not by those who are beings that are not Buddhas or ordinary beings. So kind of the point of bringing this up is that, again, whether appearance is apparent or not, or how it appears, isn't necessarily based on the way that we view or the way that we perceive. There's a lot of different causes and conditions, behind the scenes, and so just because something appears to us in a certain way, or we happen to perceive it in a certain way, doesn't mean that's the reality of what we're seeing or what's in front of us.
개취슈도 로 장외 디르연 장마이나 장디오 도스요레스 아니 배낭아서 말아서 지수나로는 미칠 차샤바는 미젠에 좀 마모 통딩에 미드 수수 줘야데스 마 수수기 좀 가제 마야는 젠의 좀 인연의 바가이는 좀 통용으로 다 저로 차대야 동들이 나지 용구에 받은 것을 지수나로 다 나하고 그랬어 당시 수수로 맞아 지수나로 다와이나로 디가 단다 사제 디 토는 거라 지수나로 신주 체바이나 안에 수수를 좀 같이 마야와 디 세지젠의 좀 마음 통돼야 되는지 용구 이거는 맞어
So when it comes to again that concept of only different individuals being able to actually see certain emanations or different bodies of the Buddha, when it came to that, there's kind of a progression of or an elevation as we go along those individuals there, and one thing that we want to emphasize is that as we progress in our practice and as we tame our afflictive emotions and our negativities and cultivate the positive qualities, we start to see more and more of the qualities in others. And when that happens, the focus isn't on the one or two, I guess you could call maybe negative or adverse sides. It's the more qualities you see, the more they start to outweigh any negative aspect that appears in front of you. And so this same concept can be applied to any and all individuals that we encounter in our lives. And when it comes to certain individuals amongst ourselves who happen to, how do you say?
라 다시엔의 좀 수술을 좀 가져 지상 마와요 디 세지젠의 좀 마와 통돼야 안에 강에 수술을 좀 가져 마와요 디 세지 유엔 쿠이보다 수술 니쿠 미드즈리에 좀 마와 통돼야 안에 수술 심바 마지디야 강인들이
So
딩어서 통고요
유어들 그런 통 먼저 무슨
다 수술을 좀 가져 마와 현한 이제 좀 마와로 통고요
Okay, so for those of us who are more, or have maybe more severe or heavier, more intense impacts from afflictive emotions or afflictive emotions themselves, tend to see those same faults and negativities in others.
디 도조 네 수수기 좀 가지 마 녀모도 송전에서 말 리버 체지 안에 수수기 신년 상마세 니코기 메단데슬레 이한테 딱이 제바이나 수수기 심디 찌브르도야다 아니 수수기 신년 연대 통야디 말이도야 디 맞아 통주도 수수 냐뇨도네 여러다 참
So when we're filled with these unwanted adverse, negative, afflictive emotions, we see the same in others, and we're very negatively impacted by them. It causes us a lot of pain and suffering, and we tend to become very closed up, uptight, and stressed, and unhappy individuals. But as we slowly abandon those negative afflictive emotions and cultivate positive ones, not only are we able to experience and see those qualities in ourselves, but we're also able to see those in others as well.
로탕로지 차디고요라 답비자션나 미치는 연된 자요치 쩐치요가 나가서 상호 나로도 쩐데 주체 인디 먼저 제때 미디 쩐디 체버도 제디고요 나가서 쩐 통도고요.
And so most of us will have this kind of have experienced this idea or this concept in our lives, in our interactions with others. these are all things that we can share from experience. When it comes to our view of others or our perception of others, a lot of the times we tend to focus and hone in on that one or two, one of those, very few flaws or faults in that person. They might have 100 qualities, or just that one time that they messed up, or that one time that we just kind of gave us a bad look that we used to judge them with, which is kind of ironic and obviously causes us a lot of unhappiness, and then distorts the way that we see them, and that in turn impacts our interactions with them from that moment on.
계시와 만족이 준 지통모드스 참마 준 통모드스 참마 파 마다바체 아니 연대 장장도 딱이 오이나로 맞지 니마는 나왔어야 되는 술 마지고 차고 이 종생 파지요 말했어.
So if we shift the focus from that one or two times that they presented or that we saw flaws in them, and focus on the many other times that we saw the goodness and the virtue and the positivity in them, it helps us maintain not only a positive perception and view in an interaction with this individual, but also helps keep our mind at peace and helps maintain our own calm and stability in our own minds and bodies as well.
대신에 단다 루벤 레덴제기 아니 디송이와 지부 담보도 전전 따와라 롱아레스 랑전 차와라 아니 벳 키바레스 했던 송이와 루벤 레덴제 지부 담보도 여러 지부 담보도 전전 차와라 롱아나시 나좀 롱아나시 미제마가 전 제대저라 들 미롱아나시 요레스 근데 랑기 전 세를 또 키바초도 줘요레스 랑기 전데 랑기 제네디 조땅 제디 주야기 베케바요 근데 미제마 전다 롱아나시 요레스 제마 전 따고 말했어 보라 그래서 뜻띵 와서 미스나무 지구차에 탈랑요는 벨레덴지요
So the great Indian scholar, is it Baba Viveka, right? So Baba Viveka, he mentions that the wise ones are those who are blind to the faults of others, but experts at knowing their own faults. And so that's something that is mentioned in his work and his teachings. And so if we are able to apply that to our lives, it would help us maintain a much more peaceful state of mind and help us support our own happiness.
대제도 단당한서 사지 시와티 토네 아니 단당한 사지 시와 단당한 비천장 시와 인스 단다 사지 시가 아니 남르랑 장뜻나 야로야로 뜻나 세제 라버도 사지 탐무데도 키체네 디 소소 라마장 많이 봐시 소소 나미체 소소 니코근 좀 줘보 나미 근데네 랑기 파마변 주에 라서도 뜻 참아라 인지 도스 당chen 네 그래 거기 연된 다 도야디 근데 소소 미츠나 니리니리 소이 주 안디지 요야 당디 펜도 배청 요레스.
So these 4 points that help maintain and explain how to see one's guru as a Buddha. The 4 points we just went over, we meant to just share with you briefly to give you kind of just a conceptual understanding of it. These actual 4 points themselves are mentioned and explained in much more detail in The Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, which is a lam-rim commentary by the great Pabonga Rinpoche. And I have a copy here, but for those who, so we recommend this as and encourage this as supplemental reading. I'm not sure if my voice is getting in here now. How about that? Okay, so we recommend this particular text as a supplemental reading, and we would like to know, just bring it up for you to have as a resource or to know as a resource for these sessions, and then on your own time during your own personal reading. But for those of you who have this physical text, or even the PDF, I think maybe the PDF version, the page numbers might be different. I was looking at it earlier today, and they seemed a little bit different. But for those who have this text, I bookmarked it just to make it easier for us. It's on page 283 of Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand. The fourth point of those 4 points there. And if you turn to the few pages before that, you can actually read each and every point and the explanations on them in a much more detailed way in this actual text. So please know that you can use this as a means of helping your understanding while we go through the foundation of all good qualities. And of those 4 points, again, the last one that we just shared, the one where we understand that not all appearances are certain. Please keep this in mind, and keep in mind that you can apply this to all individuals in your life, not only the guru, obviously especially the guru, but then also your friends, family, and loved ones, and then anyone that you happen to meet. Always maintaining that focus on the goodness and the qualities, because more likely than not, they outweigh the negative ones. And so, in doing so, we not only maintain a peaceful interaction with them, a friendly interaction with them, but we also maintain the happiness and the peace of mind and the stability in our minds.
lam-rim refuge and then the mang also test preciousness dunta jima de na consol rogo da de ma yin ba chama soya de ba yana and also the nibati lo ra and kona zo nan lo chi lo che and also so let it and that 200 down chen to sma lo mo ba chen do lin to shanas
right. And so again, over the past month, we've covered this verse particularly, and again, we want to share with you why we devoted the time to this particular verse, is that it acts as the basis for all practice. When you go into the lam-rim text and then explanations of Dharma practice, you'll most often see that the chapters are split into 2 sections. One, guru devotion, and then the second being basically all the other practices or the succeeding or the means of actually walking or practicing on the path. And so just knowing that of those 2, one of those is just fully on guru devotion, that indicates how important it is. And without this basis, there's no progression of one's spiritual practice. And that's why we took, the past few weeks to go over it and share with you some things. I mean, obviously we went through the commentary together, and then you raised questions and we were able to share things as well. But there were also things that we shared with you in the form of quotations and lines from other commentaries, and then from the sutras. And again, this is all meant to emphasize the importance. And so for those of you who are even kind of just curious as to why does the first verse start with guru devotion? Why is it? Why are the 2 main portions of a text? One of those is just purely dedicated to guru devotion. For those of you who are curious, I mean, again, it's the basis for all spiritual practice and progress. And so we wanted you to understand that and just at least kind of get an idea of why and how it's so important.
아니 denshi denni la so do su la shinju che ngen le shinye den su dan len de de shinye den su dan de le sam shi ta mo ga shi ba ngen le ane ku sang jing song sha jo ge ane kar denshi dan denni la so le che ba yang che ane de su la ngen pa de ne de su sin la peng ge wa da jing chi chang bo do da su su de che chu thong na ane yang tu sa na chu le jo de de la ma chi wa res
And so
de su su da kam do me wal da ya
so depending on one's kind of preference and disposition and approach to the texts and to the Dharma and to spirituality, this approach of emphasizing guru devotion first, as found in most of the texts and even here in the foundation of all the good qualities, is kind of on the basis of wanting, or from the pre kind of disposition of wanting to pursue the Dharma or pursue practice. If one would rather kind of, if one would rather, instead of wanting to go deeply into practice, one wants to kind of first learn and kind of gain a foundation and understanding of Buddhism in general. One doesn't have to start with the guru devotion aspect. It's encouraged. I believe His Holiness has encouraged kind of an approach where you kind of gain the main structure of the path first by studying the true truths, the Four Noble Truths, and those fundamental concepts before diving into guru devotion. But these particular texts that we're going through kind of serve the pretext of someone who is already ready and willing to really devote to the path. And so it would definitely start with guru devotion. However, it's not 100% necessary, nor does it apply to everyone listening in on this particular session, or anyone hoping to just learn about Buddhism in general. So, for those of you who are kind of in a more general, approaching it from a more kind of just wanting to see what things are about, kind of more for the sake of study, kind of approach, please feel free to also to first examine and get an idea of the other, of the Four Noble Truths, the Two Truths, and those other fundamental concepts before going deeply into this one. So please know that you have that freedom. Yes. So as mentioned earlier in the session, a small change that we were thinking of making was probably following in the format of a more traditional book club. And from what I've heard, I haven't been in one myself, but what I heard is that a lot of the reading is done, individually, and then when you meet together, that's when the time spent together is in discussion. It's not in shared reading, or I suppose there's some that maybe popcorn read. I do not know, but from what I've heard traditionally, is that you do everyone reads individually, a certain number of pages, and then they come together to discuss the contents. And so we thought we would try that as a means of keeping everyone engaged, and we do hope that this has been engaging already. And then typically today, because we're finishing the first verse, we wanted to explain those extra ideas and concepts to you. But usually, for those who have attended before these last few weeks, you'll know that after a certain point we stop and then we kind of give the mic to you, and then there's kind of more of a question and answer interaction. But even to, I suppose, to further the interaction and to keep everyone engaged, maybe we can follow through in that way. And so we wanted to ask, next Thursday is Thanksgiving. We wanted to know whether we should cancel next Wednesday's session, just for the sake of those who might be traveling or who might be out and about in preparation for Thanksgiving, or should we continue, or should we hold a Wednesday session next week? What does everyone think? We thought we'd leave that up to everyone attending, and that applies to everyone online as well. If everyone would like to have a class next Wednesday, we're more than happy to hold a class. But if everyone, it's the holidays are around the corner, so if anyone needs, if everyone, it might not be convenient on a Wednesday night with Thursday being Thanksgiving. Please let us know. How does everyone feel?
Let's have it. Sure.
Okay, Vladimir.
Yes, the class was cancelled because it was Valentine's Day.
That's between everyone. I suppose the idea came up because I guess typically Thanksgiving and Christmas are kind of like the main family, gathering days. But
The next day,
sure. How does everyone feel? And we're speaking to everyone online as well. I hope you heard me. Again, this mic is gotta find a way to better do this. It's like so when I speak to everyone here, my voice tends to not direct so well. How does everyone feel? Can I ask online about having class next Wednesday? We are a democracy here, so so majority rules. So unless anyone, yeah. Sure, of course, yes. We'll always, yeah. Yes, of course, yes.
the only one that's not welcome. Everybody using
Okay. Yes, you never know. Okay, well, everything seems fine. So we will have class next Wednesday. We thought we'd leave that up to everyone, but we're happy that everyone will be available to attend.
Versus nibati, law and the debate law. And then as a Jamati Gala, Sawa the law, and then develop washing as a rolling Jesha was, and the chance to a town rolling. And they don't do it, and the Larena do like Lani Chamaka to the danger, all this Ganayana, all this laws, in short, rushes,
Okay, and so. So as a means of kind of moving forward with this kind of traditional book club format, we'll be assigning, or we'll ask everyone to read, and then please come back with, during that time, during the week that we have, you'll have, please write all your questions, thoughts, comments, collect those, and then we can discuss those as we go through the session next week. So please read verse 2 and the commentary associated with verse 2. So that's only a couple pages. So hopefully everyone has enough time for that. It's from the bottom of page 18 until the middle of 23. So please make the time to read that if you can. And then again, whatever questions or thoughts you have on that, please write them down and then bring them to the next week's session. And then because it's only a few pages, if you have time and would like to read more into the main concept of verse 2, page 307, I wrote it down here, 307 in the Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, will offer that chapter. And that section will offer more comprehensive explanation. So please feel free to read that as well. And then you can bring that, whatever questions you have in relation to the foundation or any other supplementary resources that you have, including Liberation. You're free to ask and discuss next week. So please keep that in mind as we move forward. Yeah, and then also the great treatise on the stages of the path itself, the great lam-rim from Lama Tsongkhapa himself, is another one that you can read. Yes, from Lama Tsongkhapa himself. This is was written by Pobongo Rinpoche. The oral teaching was. Yes, I think there's just different editions, but again, it's Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, translated by Michael Richards, is the one that I'm referring to. I know there's more than one version of this text.
Translation.
Yes.
Our
Right.
This is the oldest, so the terms
Yes.
are outdated. So it's really, and there are mistakes in it. So
Yes.
just for information.
Yes.
There is much better translation,
Yes.
heavily annotated, a lot of information.
Yes. So more than one.
It's, with the one translated, just if you're interested, it's translated by Artemis Engel and Geshe Wangyal, I think.
Yes.
In New Jersey.
Yes. I'll. We have.
Well, more recent than this one.
I'm going to. One of our followers online was asking for the title and author. I'm going to take a picture of this and put it in the chat. Can I take a picture of yours as well?
Yes, sure.
Give me just a moment.
Well, it's more expensive because it's 3 volumes. This
Right. Whereas this is just one. Yes.
It's absolutely worth it.
Yes.
There's
Okay.
no
Let me.
comparison.
The Geshe Tsultim the page of the Kandiras.
Oh.
This is by. This is by.
It's called Liberation in Your Hand.
Yes.
The cover, but it's the same.
Oh.
If you who are here today, yeah, feel free to take a look at the end of this session. I'm just going to go ahead and just take a quick picture so I can share this in the text. But yeah, please feel free to read the sections pertaining to verse 2 in these other texts as well. Okay. We'll now take any questions and answers or comments or suspicions that you may have of everything that we went through over the past few weeks. Actually, before we do so, give me just a moment here. Oh, right. Oh, jeez. Oh, sure. Did you just? Knew that was going to happen. I'll do it in a little bit. My Zoom closed on me. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I will have those ready for those of you who are following online. But the on magic I'm the two some of the little more. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Give me just a second.
Let's say. Break. 5 minutes break.
Okay, so I sent the covers of both texts so you know which ones to look for if you'd like to read, in addition to the commentary here. But as a means of kind of a recap, a personal recap, or an individual recap of verse 1, we wanted to just ask if you'd be willing to share one thing that you learned or one thing that you understood in the commentary and in regards to this verse. Would everyone be willing to share something that stood out, or something that impacted you, or something that you didn't know before that makes sense now. If you're willing to share, we're more than happy to hear. And this is for everyone online as well. Or ask questions, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have to be, yeah. Just something, yeah. Just something. Yeah, this is kind of our way of kind of sharing the work here, sharing the workload, turning the tables, if you will. And we thought, we just, and as a means of kind of facilitating a discussion and interaction, and then kind of acting as a family, we thought we could ask if there was something you could share about that stood out, or something that you understood, or something that made sense about the first verse. Vladimir, can we start with you?
Yeah, well, I had some questions about it.
Yeah, sure. So could you just go ahead and kind of share one thing first, and then we'll get to the questions.
What does that mean? What does it mean the guru is to be visualized? The first paragraph that we read. What does it say? The guru should be visualized as the embodiment of the entire refuge field. What does that mean? Visualized as the embodiment. How can you do that? How can you visualize the guru as the embodiment of the entire refuge field? And then then the next line is, I'm never separated from the aspirations of my guru. What does that mean?
Great questions.
There are many.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the translation.
Okay, so I think we'll go straight into the questions. And then, as the mic goes around, please feel free to share something that you learned as well. But to what did you? The Lama di, ani soushin ba, ani member shisho sesharo, konguru sesharo, soushin yonzo chigi ba, ki chikdani ba, konguru se. Se ani khandis member shiva res to tambudi. The dinner to one you di.
Soushin yonzo ki dani ba.
The dani ba sena what the considered embodiment of the color of the
soushin la nan de lila wana.
Embodiment la, right? Embodiment is the dani sort of
the dani do. This one. Lama di koranda manzo chönne lama shiba le wana chönne lama chönne ila chönne kando this wara. So lama di ko idame ya lama korang an patu yore ta ko gi mo lama korang ta chasang korang ran da di lama yedan sanji jangsim ta 참에 그 원래 따야지 그러봐. 데이터 치고를 때 초신라도 잔다. 진짜 초신라도 거기에 들어와서 소남사에 초사에게 신 나와라. 초사에게 신 나오다 신 참만 나오다 초도 줘버디 그래 라마차 그래서 라마디 이당 원래 디샤라요래 라마디 산지 원래 샤요래 또 뭐 샤요 되게 전에 다니에 나야 되나.
So, in answer to the first question you had, is basically understanding and viewing your Lama as the embodiment of all that is good, each and every kind of individual that is good. And when we say merit field, it's the field or the entity, what it's referring to is a great source of accumulating merit. And so out of the merit field are all the different deities and the emanations. In the merit field, the most important one is one's guru. So if you think about the lines in Lama Shobha during like the Guru Puja during this whole portion, Lama, you are the Chunya Lama, you are my Lama, you are my Yidam deity, you are the gods and goddesses, you are the Dakinis, and so on and so forth. When we get to that section, just as you would see, as in that line, as explained in that line, or as recited in that line, Chunya Lama, Chunyam, you're my Lama, you're my Yidam deity, you're the Dakinis, you're everything that is holy and good. So kind of in that way.
That is a talk shin sonam sahag tsama shin tsama lama na mandu ji
So all the qualities of all those kinds of individuals or all those emanations are in the presence or within the presence or the embodiment of the guru. So that's kind of how you would.
The visualization is the guru in the middle, right there.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
we visualize as Lama Tsongkhapa, right? So it's, strictly speaking, it's not.
they could.
The expression visualized as the embodiment. How can you visualize as the embodiment? Makes no sense. You can think of the guru as, but you visualize as Lama Tsongkhapa, right? You can see it as an embodiment, but not visualize it. You cannot visualize it.
Mm.
That's what it means by visualizing. By visualizing is think of it.
Think of it.
Right.
I-
Right. To think of it like.
That's what it means.
Yes.
When
To think of it like.
that's what
Yes.
it
Yes.
means.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Thank
You
Yes.
think of it.
you.
Yes.
Thank
Exactly. Yes.
You imagine.
Yes.
Yes, like this.
Yes. And then the choni ba di dirwa. Ani dinala ani machine the jurdi. Kanis joshasana. Ani the drujin narbe sonya sharwa. Ani drujang kera kaje changwa yin ani. Shense kera kudo kaje kawa yin. Kaje ani gare the seshara dagi karangani.
This.
Yudin ha yomar seshara. The dinala the chaza inji junan harasana. The country the knitted sure that lame girwa. Lame ki the better was lower with that. Lame gida ka. So the better so that. Dida any Majawa show sin. The Karen Hans I'm in the Marine and Lama the receiver and the kitchen daughter the neuters. Tantra Sharada. Then some kitchen men.
언제든 인진 안 돼서 저도 등에 다 기트 고단로 오죠라. 저랑 가라 가서 지금 폐계 재단으로 주저도 언티 주나 네가 아여상 말다. 뭐라 거기 뒤 송야도 뒤 송거다 인주디. 라 지순 좀 쓰듯잖아 가서 그도 카돈 제도잖아 다 하이 나머진 당 가서 그 메인 나발이 좀 제와진 제거요. 그래서 당 가서 민 삼로 난 갈래고 아타트 랑헬라말이다. 지순 좀한테 뱉고로지 자차 용사를 상에 가서 메페바고 삼도 레고 와라. 그 하이 나버려 안 할라는 가서 휴지를 삼마는 가서 삼도도 고고 와라. 그래서 텐데 삼도다요 말했어. 지순 중장이네라 중가이네라 그래. 텐데 삼도다요 말했어. 그 라미 그 파드 나버트샤 간이다 나르바도 되니 지칭소. 어디 집어지지 않아. 어디 삼다는데 인지 시티 저던 다다 되가 아이어 삼도. 시티 고당로 오지 때
그래서 어디 다기 또 뒤로 더 벗어내래.
어디 거기 스모나로 가족이 상도 코드 있잖아요. 상도 코드 있잖아요. 그 하이 나바인도 있잖아요. 가족이 다음에 상도 나온다. 그 타르샤 근데 인도 이담르샤 근데 인도 저는 가족 라마리 그 하사레스에 상도도 마땅하지. 뒤땅 매송 거요래. 뒤마도 고난절로 내가 하상에 메시아로 막아고 남았더니 말했어. 뒤고도.
So the way that it was translated might not be exactly it might have kind of maybe muddled the concept a tiny bit. When we first read it, we see this as the kind of the interpretation is that it's almost like Tara and Avalokiteshvara, they're kind of secondary or something like that. Well, that's not what's meant to be emphasized. What's actually emphasized is what we went through earlier. One of the points we talked about earlier in the session, where just because someone sits on a high throne, or like just because they emanate, Tara and Avalokiteshvara emanate as deities, just pure deities with all these wonderful characteristics and qualities of the body, speech, and mind. Doesn't mean that they're anything beyond our Lama. Or it doesn't mean that compared to them, our Lama should be seen as ordinary, is kind of what is actually meant to be emphasized. The whole never be separate from the ashrams and the gurus, or you can be as wide as you wish. There's kind of this, when I read it, it kind of felt like, and obviously, there's no undermining of either the deities or of our Lamas. That's meant to be explained in this line. But just the way that it was written there. Might have been a little bit of a cause for confusion. So, but thanks for asking that question. But that's what's emphasized. Yeah. Yes, Logan.
Thanks.
Yes.
New guy. Hello. I with having only been with this text for a few minutes and listening so far, as somebody who has only studied Dharma from books, and it's been somewhat academic. The concept of a guru, or if you have the disposition of wanting to pursue practice that equals guru devotion, that's a new concept to me.
Yes.
And I also found the commentary on hierarchy, like you just spoke of,
Yes.
as some teachers are greater than others, but appearances being unstable,
Yes.
as just a nice point to take home with me. So
Yes.
yeah, that's all I was going to share,
Oh, thank you.
having just been here for a few minutes.
네, dus tanda bodo nangshu tes lojong tes shevins ani tanda chi shingni tenju ko des pe amjo sawo yin sarwa ani tinana ani lama samanya mata war se shara odi nyambu tu ti yabu so song sa rante lewa tangbo yin ale peje de khoran labal ran kama khaji mande tobe marsini tegeski khoran de yabu so song sarwa. We have a question online. I was disconnected, so just in case there were any questions I missed, please save those for next time. It's getting close to 9 o'clock, so I'll take this one question here. That reads, on page 70 in the lam-rim chemo, the paragraph in the middle of the page that starts thus: how does the relationship between the guru and the student work to bring about these results? I would have to. For the individual, I won't name them, but for the individual who asked this question, if you could keep this question for next time, and then if you could kind of elaborate on the quote there. When it says thus, I don't, because we don't have the text, the lam-rim chemo. I don't have the lam-rim chemo here, so I'm not exactly sure what is specifically mentioned on page 70 there. Unless you're able to provide this right now, I would ask, we kindly ask that you hold this question for next time, and then please elaborate on that paragraph in the middle that starts with thus. Give one more minute, and then we'll probably stop there. Di ani yinju lalo ki tamsi tantra paradi the condition was the song is arba the sick has the suans lale lada condition or semen the insert then what geometry is okay. Thank you for your understanding, and please save that question for next week. We'll stop there for today, and thank you for participating. Oh yes, sure, we'll take one more question.
I don't have a question. I wasn't sure if we were supposed to give feedback and not.
Well, yes, please. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Yes. Yes. No. That'd be nice. Yes.
No, actually, what we were talking about earlier about perceiving the such faults or whatever in the guru. There was a book I read many years ago, and I'll bring it next time because I can't remember the name of it.
Okay.
But it's a guy who basically wandered into a Dharma center. He met the guru like I don't know if he was looking for pretty girls, like that was his kind of scope. He meets the teacher. They don't have that, disciple like teacher relationship, but the teacher offers him a position sort of as his personal attendant. So this guy spends 9 years with the Lama, basically taking care of him, and it's such a great book. It's so hilarious, and he sees the Lama as absolutely insane because the Lama is very and I'm not gonna say who it is. And
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
if you want to read, that's a great. It's like this tiny, so it takes a
Okay.
couple hours to
Okay,
read.
that sounds very
But
interesting.
he thinks of it like this Lama is just nuts, and the
Mm-hmm.
things that the Lama does are nuts.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like 9 years later, the Lama says, "Okay, I'm done with you. You can leave now." And he's upset. He's hurt. He's like, he feels betrayed. Like, how could the Lama
Yeah.
do this to him?
Right.
And I don't know if you guys know the story and who this is. I'll bring the book.
Thank
but,
you. Thank you.
It was after the Lama died when he went back and read the recordings and his own handwritings, all
Mhm.
the notes that he had taken over the decades of being with the Lama. And all of a sudden, the teachings
Mm.
came to him. Like,
Yes. Yes.
he didn't understood any of it the whole time he was
Right.
around the Lama. It just went over his head, and all
Right,
he saw
right,
in the
yes.
Lama was like this crazy person.
Right.
It's a great
Yes.
book. It's really fabulous.
Okay,
So
that sounds great.
anyhow,
That sounds great. Thank you. 대주셔서 this 양성무시 민다시 라로니기 꼭 저기 꼭
돼지도 나세.
민다시 조우사워를 시야워시서
아,
비켜워서 다스.
아,
I think my big takeaway was I think if you can be devoted to a guru, seems like that's a way you can come into a proper relationship with all sentient beings. And it seems a lot easier not to see all the faults in people.
Yes.
I think I'm doing it the hard way, so I'll practice that.
yes. Yes. 신이 된주 되어 주나? 아니. 가서 미수도 소통이네 띵념들. 직통대 요인은 겨우 요시. 소비도 수라. 아니 다나다게卷嘛 다시 유네. 또 다시로
네.
어디 장기 인스 하고도 수라. 근데 장기 인스. Yeah, it's difficult, but you know, let's all practice together if we
그런
can.
게 좋아진 얘기로
네.
맞지. 뒷갈리하고 여를 때 뒷갈리지 냐는 체는 어절로 좋아진 얘기로 안 되는 심어야 되잖아요.
So it's hard at the beginning, but once you reap the benefit of it and get a taste of that peace and happiness, and being able to, or the result of that practice, it'll become much stronger and much easier. Yes.
다들 하셔.
We'll take one more. Is it a question, Joseph? One. Okay. Okay.
I think the name of that book was the
Oh, the one that Nasika brought up.
yeah,
I
I
see,
think
I see.
it's the Mahasiddha and his idiot servant, I think.
Oh, I see. I see. There's a thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing that. So we'll end this session with a dedication of our positive imprints and merit accumulated today. And that is on page 69 of the text. And we'll recite this together. Let us dedicate our positive energy to the flourishing of Buddha Dharma throughout the world. Let us dedicate our positive energy to the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. May his sacred mandalas of body, speech, and mind be unharmed by negative intentions and actions. May he and other great masters be successful in fulfilling their dreams and visions for benefiting all sentient beings. Let us dedicate our positive energy to all spiritual communities throughout the world so that they may flourish in their study, contemplation, and meditation. Let us dedicate our positive energy to the elimination of the problems in our world, such as famine, war, and conflict. May everyone in this and other world systems experience peace, happiness, and harmony. Let us dedicate our positive energy to ourselves and to other Dharma practitioners so that we may overcome all obstacles to spiritual development. Let us dedicate our positive energy to ourselves and to all sentient beings so that we can purify the obscurations to liberation and omniscience and quickly reach full enlightenment.